What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the current data points and answer the $1,000,000 question, what is coming next? Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor had a kick-ass day on Friday. It went up 39.1%. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of people were saying that this was shorts being squeezed out. That wasn't necessarily the case. There was some returning, but only 1.44 million shares, which works out to be 0.91% of the overall kind of their position. So going into this upcoming week, 23.87% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 156.45 million shares overall being shorted. So I think just given the circumstances, and what potentially might be coming out, this is why a lot of people are very excited about Opendoor, because just generally speaking, based on the volume of options, so just so you're aware, on Friday there was a huge amount. There was $152 million in premiums. So this is record numbers for Opendoor. I kind of looked back and yes, this is definitely the highest, and most of which 54% was bullish in nature. So despite it hitting the levels that it did on Friday, you still are seeing big money assuming more is coming. And on a side note, based on the options chain, with it closing exactly at this 501, that does mean that the $5 strike prices and below are considered in the money. So market makers will have to cover that. We didn't really see that many transactions of substance on the dark pool after hours, so it is fair to assume that the 35 million in options do need to be still covered. So most likely that will cause a substantial bump up in the stock price come next week. So not only are we going to potentially have a gamma squeeze, which in some cases, dependent on the level of buying, could result in a further short squeeze-ish type of scenario, but even looking forward into this upcoming week, you do have right now, based on where it's currently at, 254,000 in open interest. So again, it could even follow the following week. That's assuming Opendoor can kind of keep these levels. But right now, I think just Opendoor, like I've been stating, just needs a good catalyst. You have Eric, who is pretty much the good voice for Opendoor. He's kind of, in my opinion, he's saying that's not a meme stock, it's more of a cult stock. I don't know, he's saying big difference. I kind of tend to disagree. Because neither of which are based on fundamentals, in my opinion, of course. So what's your viewpoint on investing in a cult stock or a meme stock? I think in general, it doesn't really matter as long as you can make money. That's the moral of the story with any stock out there. Even some stocks are dormant, but if you kind of follow the trading pattern and everything, you can make money on it. One thing as well to take note of, though, is going into this upcoming week, there is, similar to Friday, 0 shares available to be shorted. So this is why shorts probably did return the amount that they did on Friday. Not because they wanted to, because probably there was some sort of just recall. Maybe the actual holders who's lending them out was kind of selling them out or something like that. But even after hours on Friday, it did go up another 1.6% during the after hours. So good to see. And in my opinion, there's definitely a lot more coming. There was, as you can kind of see, a lot of volume. So it was top 10 most heavily traded stocks. So BMNR was number 1, Palantir, SOFI, Nvidia, NEO, and then Opendoor. And so yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Of course, based on all of them, Opendoor did the best by far, up 39.17%. So I do feel like there is a hell of a lot more upside coming, and shorts have been very stubborn and they've been holding on for dear life. But like I said, if there is that CEO announcement, or potentially just some big news coming from the company itself, then essentially you should see a nice push higher. I did a video very late on Thursday on which I did mention that if Powell did hint to a cut, you're going to see Opendoor rocket like crazy. So hopefully some of you were able to kind of see that before Friday open, but even based on the transcripts of what Powell did state, yes, it looks as though that we're going to be getting a 25 basis point cut, and potentially from now up until September the 17th, which is the Fed meeting, things on a labor standpoint might worsen, potentially even prompting a 50 basis point cut on the table. It might be premature to kind of start talking about that, but that's one thing exactly Powell mentioned in this point right here, that the reason why he's even looking at a 25 basis point cut is because of the labor data, and it's kind of increasing at a recession level of sorts. So he's trying to stop that. So in my opinion, that's very good for the broader market, extremely positive for Opendoor, but again, what do I know? Let me know your viewpoint on Opendoor. So, like I said at the very beginning, the $1 million question is, what is coming next? In theory, on a technical standpoint, with it closing at 501, it is slightly below this R2. So 519 is going to be that key pivot. And if it's able to get above that on Monday, which most likely, given the amount of shares that needs to be covered from the options, the in the money options from last week, as well as just generally what's happening in the overnight, it is fair to assume that it will be above that R2. And so potentially you're going to see the high sixes in sight. And this isn't counting a squeeze, because keep in mind, there still is 156.45 million shares being shorted. Not here to say that we're going to see a mother of all short squeeze type of scenario, but logically speaking, probably a good 20 to 30% will return. And so yeah, it's definitely a very interesting scenario, but in my opinion, I do feel like there is a little bit more upside. I tend to disagree with a lot of the individuals. No offense to Eric and whatever else, but I don't think it will be going to kind of the $300 range or the 100 or 82 as what a lot of people have kind of alluded to. I think realistically it might peak at possibly $10 to $15, and that's encumbering a squeeze, gamma squeeze, and just a lot more FOMO. But anything above that, I can't really fathom. But then again, maybe I'm just not really seeing the bigger picture. But let me know your viewpoint on that. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your general thoughts on everything that's been happening? It's been a crazy stock, but at the same time, despite the lack of catalysts, it's been doing phenomenal. Even during times and the market like really pulling back and consolidating, Opendoor, very volatile. It usually does close in the green though. So yeah, it's been a fun time. So let me know your thoughts on Opendoor. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point, even including Opendoor. On Thursday, I said that it was going to go up significantly, and it did. And even aside from Opendoor, a lot of the day trades I did put out over the last several weeks have been extremely on point, so worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.